Good morning to one and all present here. I, Riya Singh, third year student of DME Media School, welcome you to the first session of Day 1 of Vritika 2023, a convention cum festival of media students. I am feeling proud to share that Vritika 2023 is now in its 8th year of celebration. The theme for this year's Vritika is Media Maestro. Vritika, a convention cum festival of media students, organized every year, has entered in its 8th year in 2023. This 2 day long event comprises a variety of competitions and deliberations. This festival invites entries from wide range of colleges. Vritika is a convention organized by the students under mentoring and assistance of the teachers. And I'm happy to say that this journey of Vritika so far is remarkable. Now, I seek your attention as I announce our partners. Vritika 2023 is sponsored by Pioneer Packaging and co-powered by Pearl of Korea. Our radio partner is Radio Adda. Media partner for this year's Vritika are VHIT, Quick News, Nishpaksh Pratidin, News 44, Amar Bharti, Hunt News and Dainik Khabar Live. Delhi Metropolitan Education's Media School, affiliated to Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University, New Delhi, hosts Vritika every year. It is a part of the school's annual calendar. It started as a film festival in 2016 and was converted to a media festival in 2018. Professor Dr. Amrish Saxena, Dean DME Media School, ideated and instituted Ganesh Shankar Vidyarthi Award for Value-Based Journalism to outstanding journalists for their contribution in 2019 and added this to Vritika. It was in 2022 that we decided to converge the elements of convention and festival and thereby organize Vritika as a convention cum festival of media students. Today's workshop is on the topic of functions of public relations and professional PR writing. I would now like to introduce our expert for this session, Ma'am Srimoy Piu Kundu. Ma'am is an acclaimed lifestyle journalist who has worked in leading publications like Times of India, India Today, Midday, and the Asian Age. She has created editorial blueprints with breakthrough publications like Metro Now, a joint venture between Hindustan Times and Times of India. After more than a decade in print media, she migrated to PR, where she helmed the media strategy division of Genesis Hammer Marsteller and headed the entertainment and lifestyle vertical of Hammer MSL. Srimoy Ma'am debuted with Faraway Music, her critically lauded first novel in 2013, followed by her best-selling feminist erotica, Sita's Curse, which explored female desire through the eyes of a Gujarati housewife. You Have Got the Wrong Girl, her third work of fiction, a light-hearted rom-com, broke new grounds in Indian ladlit. In 2017, she wrote her first non-fiction work, the widely appreciated and critically acclaimed Status Single, a narrative drawing from the lives of 3,000 urban Indian single women about the daily struggle of being single in a country where the highest validation for women remains marriage and motherhood. It was featured on Los Angeles Times and The Guardian London as a seminal work of female identity. She is the recipient of the NDTV L'Oreal Women of Worth Award for Excellence in Literature and the United Nations Women Young Achiever for Literature. She was also awarded the International Rotary Club Award for Women Leadership last year. She is the founder of the community Status Single that aims to address 74.1 million single Indian women in this country and is a leading speaker on the cause of single women in India. I now invite Professor Dr. Amrish Saxena, Dean DME Media School, to felicitate our guest and also give his opening remarks for the session.
So I welcome everybody in this workshop, all the participants and the resource person for this session, Shrimai Kundu, who herself has done so much as far as journalism is concerned, or writing books is concerned, or public relationing is concerned. So I think there can be no better person to talk about PR and the writing part than her. So I give all my best wishes that this workshop will really bear some fruits, and at the end of the session, you all will learn something more, something new, which before this workshop you might not be knowing. So my best wishes to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would now like to invite Srimoy ma'am on the stage to take the session forward. Over to you, ma'am.
So, so you can call me Shri, and I am not a big fan of biodatas being read out at the beginning of any session because nobody is paying attention, and people zone out after the first few sentences. So I will summarize my career for you to contextualize why I was called to do this session. So, like a lot of you, यहाँ पे जो है, are you all PR students, or are you also students of journalism? How many are PR students? Only PR. No, do you have, or is it like a mixed media course? Okay, okay. So you study journalism and PR, right? Okay, that's great. So I'm 45 years old, and I went to a college called Jadavpur University in Kolkata. Some of you may have heard about this college recently because, very sadly, there was a student who was ragged to his death. So my college is unfortunately infamous now. But when we were growing up, I grew up in a city called Kolkata. There was really no concept of mass media. We didn't have any courses, like you are doing courses on mass communication, which involve giving you a taste of journalism, PR, advertising, probably digital marketing. We didn't have these courses. So my first brush with journalism was when a bunch of journalists came over to our college, and they were looking for cub reporters, people who could report from the campus what was going on, if there was a students protest, or if there was a fest going on in our college. And we had engineering department and arts department as well as a science faculty, so it's a huge university. So I was selected, always liked to write, and that's when my bylines first started coming out in the Times of India, reporting on stuff in my college. It was just really small, my world. People, we started a whole exercise of planting trees in the campus, trying to make it green. There were, at that time, in my department at least, or in the arts faculty, there was no ragging whatsoever. So we had lovely stories of, students who were coming in from the Northeast and interviews with them, etc. And then I started my career as a journalist when I was 21. And I moved from Kolkata to New Delhi. And I joined a newspaper called Asian Age. How many of you have heard of the Asian Age? Okay. Hands higher? Okay. So the Asian Age was actually a newspaper started by M.J. Akbar, who's, of course, now rightfully indicted in the Me Too movement. Asian Age was a game changer of sorts because it was like a tabloid. It married the idea of news and entertainment, right? So there was a lot of news stuff, but there was also lifestyle, there was features, there was fashion, there was travel, there was Hollywood news, there was a lot of photographs. So it kind of was a very different sort of a newspaper. That's where I started a career which then spanned about 17 years. And my last journalistic outing was with the Times of India in Delhi. But I've worked in Bangalore, Delhi, and Mumbai, never in Calcutta. PR. When we were journalists, our first exposure to PR people was a person who comes with an invite of an event, sends you a press release, organizes your car, and then follows up कि story आया नहीं आया. And honestly, in the 90s, when I was a journalist, not 90s, in the early 2000s, when I became a journalist in 2001, PR was not a very respectable profession because we would make PR people stand in the reception for hours, not give them time. We never looked at them as strategic consultants. We saw PR people as essentially, a medium between a product or a event company or, like a fashion week happening and somebody representing them to us. Over time, and especially I think when I rose up the ladder as an editor, what I realized was a lot of times it was the PR people who were actually drawing our attention to stories which needed to be done. And I made some great friends from the PR industry. But before I go on to, like the functions of public relations, I'm going to go there and pass on the mic to you all. I want to understand from you all because have you all studied about PR? Not at all. Is this the first years that I'm talking to? Okay. So public relations, what do you understand by public relations? I think somebody should give them the mic and I'll go there. What do you understand by public relations? You don't have to be very elaborate, whatever you understand.
Basically, it's a person who builds the relationship between the people and the institution they are working for.
What do you mean by people?
For the audience, like for a particular institution, they have a target audience.
Right.
They maintain the relationship between the institution and the target audience.
So they are like a liaison, like a medium between the institution and the audience.
Yes.
Okay. Any more definitions? And I would just request you to listen to your colleagues when they are talking instead of chatting between yourselves because otherwise a workshop is a waste of time. Yeah.
And they are the people who are maintaining a relation directly with public and the company, and they also help them to maintain a good relation with the audience.
So I'm hearing the words company. I'm here, like if we were to draw the keywords, I'm hearing the word company, I'm hearing the word audience. Okay, these are the two keywords as of now. What else? Anyone else? What about the ladies? Anyone else? What do you understand by public? And introduce yourself. You were supposed to do that.
AJMC first year. I think the public relations is a person who, clients and company, they form a relation between them so that the audience or the people can understand.
So client, company, audience. Okay? Are we missing out on something? Think if this were a jigsaw puzzle and if we had to arrange it in terms of importance. So there's client, visualize it like a storyboard. So there's client, there's audience. Okay? And your PR is like the bridge. It's like the, the conduit or the medium. What else? What else are we meeting out? What else are we What course are you doing? What is the course that you're doing? So why are we not talking about the media? Where is the media? So anyone else, would you like to just add to that definition? What about, oh, you have a really bad cough. You want some water? Want some water? Okay. Yes, thanks to Delhi's terrible pollution. Anyone else to add some more? Yes? He's asking for the mic. Do introduce yourself, and I love your t-shirt. It's very arresting. Hello.
Ma'am, PR is also advertising.
Okay. So for instance, if there is a PR company in the middle, think of it, I wish I had a blackboard because usually when I do workshops, I like to write, but since I don't, use your imagination, the power of our mind, right? Visualize it like a storyboard. So you have PR in the middle. You have a client. Say the client is Delhi Metropolitan Education, right? They've hired, I'm the PR person. They've hired Srimoy. I'm an organization. I represent For instance, an organization I worked for called Genesis Burson Mastella. It's one of the biggest PR agencies. So there's your college, there's me representing my organization, there's an audience, which is, we will discuss it. But what about the media? Why is Delhi Metropolitan Education hiring me to do what? What am I supposed to do? What are my deliverables according to you? Loudly? Sorry? Information. Okay. So to basically inform the public about the great courses which are being offered in this college. So basically, a PR firm has to do two things. One is information dissemination, right? The second is reputation management. Because of the information that you're giving out there, people are going to say, wow, what a great college. I mean, I'm sure some of you have taken admission into this college because of, ratings, reviews, etc. that you may have Googled, or your parents might have done some kind of research before, paying up for your, courses, right? And then, so between the client, which is the college, I am being paid by my client. I've been recruited by the, the institution. So one is that I have to reach my target audience. So to reach, who is the target audience for me? What do you think is the target audience for me as a PR agency? Your college is the client. Who's the target audience? Do you think it's students? No, don't be intimidated, Mami. Give your answers. Who is your target audience? For this college, who is your target audience? Students? Who else? So basically, students who are obviously going to do their research, talk to friends, discuss, but along with that, and more importantly, also the parents. Students are not going to pay for their own courses, right? It's the parents who are going to ultimately, put the bang on the buck and, pay for your courses. So there is a bit of reputation management also. Because when you're, say, Googling to find out what are the best media colleges in NCR, right? So you are checking the reputation of the college also. And whose responsibility is it to build that reputation? The PR persons, right? You get that, right? So information to build awareness, right? So information to give awareness about the courses, information to give awareness about the state-of-the-art, institute, information to give, awareness about what are the jobs that you're going to get after this course. Because isn't that your aim, that you're coming to a fancy media school for what? Ultimately, you all want to be absorbed by the, the leading either PR agencies or advertising firms or media organizations, right? So I'm also going to need to show to the target audience that, hey, this is an institute from where Srimoy passed out. Oh, Srimoy, the journalist. This is from where Guneet Monga passed out. Oh, Guneet Monga, the producer-director, right, the Oscar winner. So reputation management. So where does the press come in? What do you think the PR person has to do with the press? Is the press a tool for the PR person? Do you get that? Yeah? So basically the journalists or the media organizations are a tool for the PR agency to fulfill the client's KRA. The client's KRA or the brief of the client will be given that, I want to build the reputation of my institution. I want to showcase my institution as a leading media institute. And how do they do that? What is the recruitment rate? How many people actually get jobs from this college? Secondly, is it a modern facility? Are you guys getting trained by the best of the best in terms of faculty? So people also do a lot of background research on the faculty. Who is coming? Who's teaching? Like, for instance, my niece, she's gone to Ashoka to study and she's got a full scholarship. So I think for 1 year before she actually took a decision to apply, all she was doing is just, doing a Google search, researching, talking to past pupils about the faculty. Because who teaches you is very important. Even in a smaller institution, you might have teachers with, who really sort of, teachers make all the difference, right? So basically, the journalist or the media organization is a tool for you to execute your deliverable, which is this. Now, what do you think, apart from fulfilling a requirement of the client, what do you think is the role of public relations? What do you think is the role of public relations? I just want you all to think. Because, typically when I do workshops, I don't like to only speak because it's boring. So, basically, I would like you all to be with me and think with me. What do you think is the role of public relations? What is the role of public relations? What about you at the back? Would you like to answer? Yeah. Yes, you with the printed shirt. Why not? Just give me an answer. What do you think is the role of public relations? Give him the mic. No, it's a question. You don't have to feel like on the spot. What do you think is the role of public relations? Basis on what we have discussed so far. Okay, anyone else? What is the role? Yeah, what is the role of public relations? Hold the mic to your mouth. It's a very soft mic. Mm-hmm. Hold 1 minute. Parents, students, now I'm also thinking with you all. Also, sponsors, funders. Because your college is you have patrons of your college, right? You have people supporting a fest. So it also is building the reputation not just for parents, not just for students, but also for visiting faculty. Like if I were to do a Google search that why would I want to spend half a day on a trip to Delhi in your college. So for that also, I need the PR machinery, right? Okay. Recruitments. Yeah, it is the bottom line. Education is a business like any other business. Welcome. That's a very detailed answer, and I'm glad you've been, you're thinking along with me. Also, think about it. For instance, if instead of this college, it was my university that was my boss, as in my client. Recently, we've had this episode, right? It's been internationally covered of a student being ragged and jumping to his death. So if a situation like this happens, in the IITs, suicide by students is rampant, right? So if IIT, instead of your college, or Jadavpur University is the client, what else do you think a PR agency also has to do, apart from information, awareness, reputation building? What else does it have to do? Think of words. What else does it have to do? When a situation like this happens, or there's a fire in the college, or there's an incident of sexual harassment, or there's a incident of bullying, what will the PR company be called to do? Yes? Where's the mic? Pass it on to him.
Ma'am, the main thing is damage control.
Mm.
Done by the
So is there a better word for damage control? Sorry? Stress relief. No, it's not iodex or...
हम एक एश्योरिटी प्रोवाइड करना कि जो stress
So
में
damage
आदमी-
control is a better word. Think more professionally. What would that function of the PR agency be called? Reputation, damage control, think
Image.
image. Absolutely. Image management. And there is a term in consultancy, PR consultancy, which is called crisis management. So, one of the PR companies that I had joined, we had the company Lafarge. Have you heard of Lafarge? It's a French cement company. And it ran into troubled waters because it was attacked by the environmentalists. That Lafarge is actually, cutting down trees. The company is encroaching onto, land. It's sort of grabbing land, etc. So the environmentalists stopped all construction at sites of Lafarge. You must have, I don't know if you all remember, you all are really kids, but for instance, the pesticide issue in Coca-Cola. Do you remember that? एक time पे हम लोग Coca-Cola नहीं पीते थे. Because all the, the plants of Coca-Cola were sealed. And there were environmentalists who were saying that, there are pesticides in this, etc., right? Same thing happened with Lay's chips, Kurkure. They said they found iron chips inside that. So for a very long, Maggie as well, yeah, right? So, yeah. So now how did you know that Maggie is back? So if, for instance, if my client is Maggie, right? If, for instance, my client is Maggie, and Maggie has been banned, or there's a lot of, limelight on Maggie as being unhealthy. So the PR agency's job is to basically change the mindset of the consumer and convince the consumer that this is not unhealthy. This is what the company has done. This is the, the food authorities of India have ratified this as being a safe snack, which is, consumed all over India and now even all over the world, right? Now, another thing which is very important as a PR agency is that, today आप लोग सुनते होंगे ना ये term Godi media. You've all heard of it? So, whenever you see, for instance, any Bollywood celebrity or any public persona, their Instagram having 1.8 million followers, and everything is, their YouTube channels are filled with subscriptions and ads and all that. What is a very common thing we say nowadays? ये तो सब PR है, right? We use that term a lot. So another kind of PR is also celebrity PR. One other kind of PR is also film PR. So even in PR, there are different divisions. So one is like, just like in a organization, you'll like in a educational institution, you'll have law, you'll have media, you'll have management. So similarly in a PR agency, you'll have corporate, which will be your corporates. Their clients will be a Lafarge, their clients will be a Coca-Cola. There will be consumer or lifestyle, which means, for instance, a clothing company like a Myntra, or perhaps, like a news channel like Viacom, for instance, can be a client in the like lifestyle consumer, or it can be Nestle, for instance, or Parle-G, or, for instance, even your, all your, say, this Lux or anything, anything in a consumer durable space. The other is finance. So you'll have banks, you'll have lending institutions, you'll have, like, say, the World Bank, you'll have, global lending agencies, right? Then you also have political PR, right? So, for instance, I'm just kind of blanking out. I forget this guy. Prashant Bhushan. You all have heard of Prashant Bhushan? Have you heard of this organization called IPAC? So basically, they say that he scripted Arvind Kejriwal's victory. He was a person who was the PR, the strategic council, which is very common abroad. So in European countries or in US, most political parties have a PR machinery behind them. And they are strategic. They are not just buying journalists out. They are giving the PR agency strategy. How do you win an election? How do you appeal to your voter base? How do you differentiate between different sorts of voters and elect your candidates accordingly? Select your candidates accordingly so that they can be elected by the constituency. Say if it's a constituency largely with a backward caste janta, then maybe it makes sense to, front end a person from that caste who understands the problems, the issues, the drawbacks of that particular constituency. So there's political PR also, and most of the time, political PR agencies, they have like IPAC, like after Arvind Kejriwal, Prashant Bhushan, he's very well known, and he basically then went on to TMC. And he scripted TMC's when he works with the Congress, for instance, right, to also, bring it back into prominence after sort of a very bad run at the elections. So there's that political PR as well. Then there is today a lot of PR which we are talking about, which is crisis management. And this applies to celebrities all the time, right? So for instance, if you see, Shilpa Shetty's husband was arrested for, the pornographic video footage that he was apparently shooting and selling and forming a company. So immediately you'll see the PR machinery will come to work. You'll see some positive articles by Shilpa saying, no, my husband can't do this. And, it's a scam news and they're trying to frame him. So the PR is largely about reputation. PR is largely about the values of that company being upheld to your target audience and using the press as a vehicle to disseminate that information to its target audience. So for a PR professional, the press is a tool. And today, if you see that you must have heard of this company, this term, and maybe you have this course also, digital PR, right? Do you have it in your course? Yeah, I mean, generally, do you have it in your curriculum, right? Digital PR. So what is digital PR? Digital PR is basically social media. Earlier, PR used to be a very sort of, a brick and mortar kind of thing, where it was a human engagement. So, like I said, there was a PR, like hum log bolte PR ke bande aa gaye, so there would be a PR person who, comes and, a press release, right? We will talk about press release. What is a press release? Just let's again think. Yes, are you able to speak? Okay, where's the mic? Yeah, hold it to your mouth, please.
Press release.
What's your name? Okay.
Press release is a kind of a statement given by the PR of a particular person or even an organization. And press releases are either giving a piece of information, a type of clarification, or announcing something.
Yeah, I think that's a textbook description and very accurate of what is a press release. It read like just out of a textbook. I'm sure that's the definition in your textbook. A press release, they say has to be as, it's a very colloquial thing, but, I learned it in a public relations course that I did overseas, which said a press release should be like a skirt. It should, you may have heard this adage. I find it honestly very sexist, but just for purposes of argument, short enough to completely grab your attention. Because if your press release is going to be like some 6 pages long, most of the time people are reading press releases today on WhatsApp. Nobody's even, I think very soon email will become defunct. Because nobody is looking at emails. It's a very formal way of communication, but everything people will ask you to send on WhatsApp. Ab documents bhi dekh lo or whatever it is, pictures bhi dekh lo, everything is on WhatsApp. Even here, like I've done this course, and if I ask one of the professors, where will I get the photographs? They'll, ma'am, we'll WhatsApp it to you by evening, right? So if you are sending a press release on a WhatsApp, can you imagine the attention span of the journalist? Because on one day, from at least 20, 25, 30, 35 PR agencies, for at least millions and hundreds of clients, they're getting press releases from, like say if I was the lifestyle and entertainment editor, I'm getting a press release that there's a restaurant opening. I'm getting a press release that there's a premiere happening. I'm getting a press release that Jaipur Literature Festival is starting. I'm getting a press release about Vritika. I'm getting a press release about Shilpa Shetty's husband. I'm getting a press release about, say some marathon, women's marathon. So that kind of information overload, like they say, is happening to a journalist. So your press release has to be succinct.
Your press release has to be a summarization of what you want to say. So, for instance, if there's a press release which says that the 8th edition of Vritika is starting today, what would you say are the 3 key things that are going to be there in that press release? Yes. Venue, date, time, programming, so that you know each day kya sessions ho rahe. What else? What else do you think from the back? Who's the chief guest? Okay, chief guest or guests, like every day if you have different eminent personalities coming. What else at the back? List of competitions, a list of workshops, a list of films that you might be seeing. What else? What else? Think, dig deeper. Sorry? Well, that would probably be just the logos at the bottom of the press release. But what else? What else? Think.
Ma'am, these stalls and other people.
Yeah,
who are
so
coming
generally
from
there'll be information about your 2-day festival.
Yes.
You know, the competitions, the workshops, who is the eminent speakers who are coming, what are the different other colleges who are participating and sending their, students. What else do you think needs to be in a press release? To validate it, to make it seem like it's important. What about statements from spokespersons? Don't you think it will have a quotation from Professor Amrish? Right? Don't you think it'll have a quotation from, like say you've got 3 eminent speakers, right? Don't you think it'll have their quotes? And when do you think press releases are issued? Are they issued at the beginning of the event or at the end of the event? So usually when there's an event, you'll always see that there are 2 press releases because there are 2 events. So for instance, when the IPL happens, don't you have a curtain raiser for that IPL? Right? There's an announcement that, like the Olympics are happening. So there'll be an announcement that the Olympics this year, or the Commonwealth Game, this year the Commonwealth Games will be held in New Delhi. Right? This year the Oscar ceremonies will happen at the Geo World Convention Center in Mumbai. That's your announcement, where you're going to give the press and the media a taste of, who might be coming. So for instance, if it's like a Commonwealth Games, then you're saying that this year we'll see 200 countries participating. Just I'm saying, or 20 countries, or this year we'll see these athletes, they will be leading these events. This year, the prime ministers of these countries will be at the opening ceremony. For instance, we'll say, for instance, we have a big international celebrity, say Selena Gomez, to perform for a particular opening, right? Like you have Super Bowl, Jennifer Lopez and these big stars always. So that's an announcement. But after the event is over, in fact, for events where, like a fashion week, for instance, right? Where every day you have around 7 to 10 shows and then you have a showstopper every day. Every day evening, that 8 to 9 slot is, the big ticket event of the fashion show, right? So every day a press release goes out, encapsulating the happenings of that entire day. So the day started, the first show, say from 10 to 11 o'clock was by Rohit Bal, and say Kareena Kapoor walked, some information. And see, press releases are of various kinds. It can be a medical conference. It just doesn't have to be an event. It can also be a scientific discovery. Right? It can be a pharmaceutical company which has discovered, for instance, a new vaccine for the variants of COVID. Even that is you will see that about press conferences, right? So what is a press conference? Anybody? What is a press conference? Why do we need to have press conferences? I want to hear others. What is the need to have a press conference? What about people here? On the ladies and the front row, very stylish. What is the need for a press conference? Why do organizations, companies have a press conference? What happens in a press conference, you think? Has anyone been to a press conference? No, you haven't. Okay. So what do you think happens in a press conference? Why don't you tell us, the boy in the green shirt? Yeah. What is a press conference? Why do you need to have a press conference? What happens in a press conference?
लॉन्च होने वाली वैक्सीन है तो मैम ऐसा मीडिया जर्नलिस्ट वो एज अ ऑडियंस के थ्रू वो मैम एक मीडियम बनता है जो मैम उनसे डायरेक्टली पूछ लेता है कि इनके जो इफेक्ट्स क्या क्या होने वाले हैं जो आप लॉन्च करने वाले हो
Yeah.
उसकी क्या
Yeah.
facilities
So
हैं?
a press conference is like a curtain raiser. A press conference is like a movie trailer. A press conference is like a teaser campaign. So basically it's a form of announcement. कुछ बड़ा होने वाला है, इसके dates का क्या है, you block your calendar, you're giving people the itinerary of the event so that they know that, okay, on these dates, this is what I can expect at, say, Vritika, for instance, right? And then you also are giving them information to the journalist that, supposing I want to attend Vritika, I study in Amity, how can I attend your, your student or media conference? So that information also will come out of a press conference. If you notice in sports events, how many watch sport? I think everybody watches now the cricket and yeah. So you'll see after every match, what happens? There's a press conference, right? Yeah. So sporting events, even if you see big, film events, right? Like the Mami, the film festival is going on in Mumbai, right? Every day after the festival comes to a close, there is a press conference, right? So in that press conference, what happens is there is an kind of a wrapping up, and they will have, say, for instance, if you have a Karan Johar, or you have like a Leena Yadav, or you have like a Srijit Mukherjee from Bengal, all the big directors, or you have, somebody who's come from abroad, like say a Martin Scorsese's down ever. So these people will speak at that press conference to say that today our film was premiered, or my film is premiering tomorrow. So basically a press conference is again information giving. Now we touched upon press release. Who had given me the definition? You had given me the definition, yeah. So when you're writing a press release, of course, one of the characteristics is that it has to be, like I said, short enough to arrest all the information, but lengthy enough and detailed enough to give you all the dope or all the pointers or all the nuggets of information that you need to arrest your attention. If I get, like when I was an editor at Times of India, on any given day, I would get about 500 press releases. And then I would send them to my team. So if you cover food, I would send you all the restaurant openings and the food, the food festivals. If you covered films, I would send you. If you covered theatre, so that's what I did. But on a given day, I'm receiving 500 press releases, right? So what do you think is the first thing that we need to get right in a press release? Of course, the date, the time, the players of that event. But apart from that, what else? Think of it like a report. Like if a press release is something you're going to read, what is the first thing that needs to grab your attention? Sorry? Think more. What is the first thing? Yeah, clarity, of course. But what's, like, if you open an email, what is the first thing that will make you feel that, okay, I want to send somebody to cover this? Think of it in terms of a news thing. As a reporter, or as an editor, what is the first thing that you'll see in that press release which will say, yes, headline, absolutely, headline. So the first thing in a press release to get right is your headline. So for instance, if it is a food festival or if it is a media conclave, the headline has to be arresting. The headline has to be very catchy. Now, when it comes to giving a headline, what do you think are some of the things that you need to keep in mind when it comes to a headline? Short, okay. Catchy, absolutely, that's a good word. What else? Meaningful. What about informative? I mean, don't you have to, because for me, if I don't have the patience to go through a 2-pager, say I'm reading on my phone on the go, between assignments, what's the first thing that's going to arrest me? Visually, kaise? It's just a press release. The design, you mean? Yeah, okay, maybe sometimes press releases are pretty fancy, especially sometimes, we had, especially if you cover fashion, food, etc., you'll see some of the press releases are like wedding invitations. They're all very jazzy and beautifully done and packaged and all of that. But say you're reading it digitally. You're reading it just scrolling down. So, of course, informative, catchy, correct spelling. So one of the things that completely shuts down your chances of the press release going beyond my phone to actually a deputation of a journalist for your event or your announcement is spellings. Grammar, absolutely. Spellings, grammar, and also relevance. Like, I don't want a flowery headline. I want a headline which, gives me information. Do you know what are the most common mistakes that happen in headlines? Can you guess? Say your Vritika festival is beginning today. Today is the 3rd of November. What do you think would be the most common blooper on a headline? No, blooper. I mean mistakes. The most obvious, the most stupidest mistake on a headline. What do you think it could be? Which will really cost you that coverage? Spelling, we mentioned. We all thought about spelling. What else? Yeah, that's a printing issue. But in terms of information, what do you think can go wrong? The tense. So the grammar, but also the date. A lot of times in the headline, the date is wrongly given or it's not given at all. So I've had instances where, say, my reporter has called up a particular organization saying, we got a press release saying that this is being launched and I would like to do a story. And they said, oh, but the launch happened yesterday. But nowhere was it written. So basically, there are two things in this. The journalist has not gone beyond the headline. The journalist has seen the headline, got excited and said, I want to cover this because it's going to make a great news. So has not bothered to find out कि ये past है, कल है, आज है, क्या है. And the other thing is the PR agency has goofed up big time. Yeah, sorry. Venue, yeah. So details, the finer details, the date, the place, the time, and what is it? Basically, you have to understand something. That as PR people, you have 5 seconds of a journalist's time. And today especially, in an age where journalists are getting story ideas from Instagram, right? Social media has become our trend, we hear this word a lot, trending story, right? So if something is trending, a news organization might pick up that trend and do a story. Like say for instance, we might have a feature story on say, this Diwali, what is trending in women's wear, right? So if everybody is wearing, for instance, I went to the GK M Block market and I was shown a salwar kameez, like a kurta, and the shopkeeper kept telling me, this is the Alia style. And every shop I went to, the ladies might know, it's that kind of cut, So I said, what is this Alia style? Rocky or Rani mein unhone pehna tha. So, if you're a journalist, you're doing a story on a trend because everybody's writing about that, right? Or you're doing a story on a show which is trending. Like say, Made in Heaven released and there were these beautiful stories of trans women and Dalits and, it was a very unusual sort of assortment of marriage stories, right? Or, stories of relationships. So you're doing a story on that. So the trends. So basically your headline has to, again, be a very smart, very, very terse, smart, at the same time catchy, snappy, exciting, pull for the journalist. Whether it is in journalism or whether it is in, PR, your headlines are very important. And then the other thing is to be factually correct. To basically, in that press release, give the journalist a whiff of a story. That this is a story which you can do from this press release. There are journalists they still exist, especially more so now, who are infamous. When you all join news agencies, आप ये phrase बड़ी सुनोगे कि ये तो press release तो छपता है. वो press release लेके छप देता है. He doesn't do any research. He or she doesn't do any research. They don't do any research. They don't do anything. They've just taken the press release and they've put it in the paper. And journalists actually do that. I've had people who are fired from my team because I would see the language. It reads like a press release. Even the quotes which the journalist has taken for the story, he's just lifted off the press release. So if there is Professor Saxena's quote, story में भी वही identical quote है. So you'll know the journalist has not even bothered to speak to Professor Saxena to get more information about Vritika. He's just taken whatever was said. उधर हाँ, this is Vritika, this is 8th edition, पहले फिर वही वो छाप दिया है. Right? So press releases are, can you imagine? It is that meaty that some journalists actually do that. That's a bad practice. That's not something I as a former editor would ever like for any of you to ever do. But it is done. And here, because we're talking about PR today, I'm trying to assert the importance of a good press release. The other thing is, you know, the value of public relations. Now, why do you think we use the word relations in this profession? What is the relations? Why do we say public to hum samajh gaye? Because audience. There's a target. Why do we use the word relations? Kiska relation? Kiske saath? Yeah, someone else? Who's that? Yeah, someone else? What about the lady who's giving you the mic? Okay, so relationship between the PR agency and the media organization. So between the PR professional and the journalist, okay, why do we say relations? What relations? Okay, let's flesh that out a little more. That's a good answer. What else? Yes? Yeah, okay. So basically, again, it's that bridge, right? It's connecting your target audience with the client, right? Or the products of the client, or what the client has to offer. What else do you think is the relationship part of it? Sorry? What do you mean by that? Mm-hmm. Okay. But I think that is actually I think you're getting into the darker side of PR, that it's all business and it's all money, which it is. Like I said, a lot of it is paid PR. Like there are some stories, as you know, which are planted in newspapers. Companies actually pay, and there are papers, I mean, I'm saying it being a Times of India creature myself, you may have heard of MediaNet. So MediaNet is nothing but paid journalism. So that is what? So say you are a star, you have a PR, like you have appointed, say, that gentleman by your side as your PR agent. He is planting the story, and Times of India is charging for that paid story. So for instance, it's an image cleanup to say that, you know, you're free of drugs, you know, whatever some story like that, or whatever, some kind of story. So there are PR plants. So that is, of course, but I'm talking about when we say public relations, then what is the relations part of that? You will also, if you're representing a GEC channel, like Star used to be one of our channels, not just Star World or Star News, but Star across all the languages. So there is Star Jalsha, there is Star, you know, I'm sure there's a Star Hindi as well, there's a Star, you know, in Kannada, etc. So you'll also have to know what's happening in your particular industry. So that if you're doing a story that Star has, you know, been acquired by X media company, if it's a business story, right, that you're pitching in your space, you have to know about the figures. You have to know about what is the happenings in that space. You have to know about who are the other players, who are your competitors, who are the other players, what are the other shows, what happened, you know, which person has quit a channel, who's joined, who's the face of the channel now. So PR, unfortunately, is sometimes looked upon as a very dumbed down version. You know, जिनको journalism में जगह नहीं मिलती वो लोग PR करते हैं. You know, it's very sad. But I was just yesterday, I met my boss in PR. So I was a VP and he was the president. And I was telling him that in my career of journalism has been 17 and a half years long, and my career in PR was obviously much shorter. But what I have learned from PR, I have not learned that much in journalism, because PR involves writing, it involves interviewing, because when you're doing a press release, you have to get quotes from people, you have to talk to people, you have to build up the story. So a PR person or a PR person who's writing is also a form of a storyteller. It's the only difference is you are telling a story for the media with the objective that that story will finally help your client, right? But a journalist is probably, you would look at a journalist as doing it more for people, society, whatever. Not really anymore, right? We all know. But at the end of the day, PR is also about storytelling. PR is also about fact finding. PR is also about gathering information and presenting it in a systematic, strategic, stimulating manner so that it is grabbing the attention of your agent, which is, you know, journalism or journalists. Now, can you tell me, along with journalists, along with PR, if you are a company, what else is like a sister parallel to PR? You all are studying it. It's one of your courses. Little before that, I'll come to Copcom. I'll touch upon it briefly. What else? Absolutely. Advertising. So when, for instance, GSK, it introduced the women's Horlicks, right? And you had Tapsi Pannu and so many of these female actors being the brand ambassadors of that. There was also advertisements that went with the announcement, right? All over the city you had, if there's a new show, for instance, Coffee with Karan, right? Which is obviously the latest show which everybody is either slamming or praising, but you know, it's created a buzz, it always does. So you, along with the announcement, along with your social media, you're also seeing hoardings. I came out of the Delhi airport and while I was going, this huge hoarding from Disney Hotstar, that it's playing on Disney Hotstar and you know, you can watch it, whatever, you know, streaming live now on Disney Hotstar app and all of that, right? So advertisement. Corporate communications. Now, how many of you know what is corporate communications? Because it's often confused with PR, but it's not PR. What is corporate communications? Is it part of your course? It is. Okay, so what do you think is corporate communications? What is corporate communications? You have the word corporate and you have the word communications. So what do you think it is? Anyone? No? Okay, what is, let me get some other answers. Corporate communications? Just communication on behalf of the organization, right? That's what you're saying. Ho gaya na? That was her answer. So basically, communication on behalf of the organization is corporate communication. So in an organization, I am an organization, right? I am the college. I am hiring her. She's my PR agency. So my internal PR and communications outfit is called corporate communications. So what corporate communications does is all the internal communication of the company, the brochures, the newsletters, the CEO's speeches, the internal communication. Say they're introducing a HR employee initiative, a benefit, say Pride Month, or they're giving a period leave. All that internal information, internal communication will be done by the corporate communications team. Also, on behalf of the organization, it's the Corpcom head who will liaison with the PR agency. So you will not have the CEO of Genpact interact with the CEO of, say, Genesis and say that this is a brief. I will call her. She's my corporate communications India head. I will give her the brief. This is what needs to be done. She will then get her team to call the PR agency for a meeting. They will be debriefed and they will be given an agenda. So corporate communications also involves a bit of writing, a lot of writing actually, a lot of writing, a lot of strategy, a lot of internal PR. So corporate communication will give ideas will give the brief to the PR agency. This is our campaign. This is our HR initiative. This is our, entire, fest that we are doing. This is our vision board, right? This is our HR, the entire sort of HR mandate. Now, how do you get us visibility? How do you get journalists to be interested in our organization, in all that we are doing in an organization? Say for women, say for trans women, say for the LGBTQI population, for the disabled, or if there is a product being introduced. So sorry, I didn't get you. Yeah, so again, the tools are the same, but I'm just trying to explain to you what is corporate communication vis-a-vis what is PR, right? Now, when it comes to writing in PR, right, apart from the headline, we discussed the headline, we discussed being factually very accurate, short, not too long, relevant. What else do you think are the skills required of a PR person? How many of you want to make a career in PR? Or you're sure of it? Raise your hands higher. That's 3 of you. None of the ladies? Nobody wants to be a PR professional? No? You're still exploring, okay. So for those who raise their hand, I'm assuming you know a bit of PR, or you've met PR people, or you like the profession. What do you think are the qualities which a PR person needs? Yes?
The message is clear.
Okay. What else? Yes? Yeah?
Convincing skills.
Convincing skills, okay. Because a PR person is like I'll come to you, is like a salesperson, right, at the end of the day. What else?
Good media relations.
Yeah.
If you have good media relations, then he can communicate between a journalist.
So when I teach PR, and I teach journalism as well, the first question that I ask both sets of students, like who are in their 3rd year when they are specializing, is how many of you read the newspapers? And I'm asking you the same question. How many of you read the newspapers? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So the rest of you don't read the news at all? So you read it on your phone? So you read posts, you read status updates, you watch reels, but that's not news a lot of times. So for a PR person, similarly for a journalist, you have to be well read. One of the disreputes of PR is that PR people are very dumb. And I'll tell you, when I joined PR, I had a team, because I used to do strategy, that when I joined there were only 2 girls. And the 2 girls never used to come for client meetings. They were all back-end, like they would prepare the media list, they would do like back-end work. So I went to my boss, who I met yesterday for lunch, and I asked him, and he brought this up yesterday. I said, I'm sorry, I come from a profession where because I handled a features, lifestyle, entertainment team, a large part of my teams were girls. And later on in my career, I saw boys being interested in fashion and boys being interested in, theater or whatever it is, which was very welcoming. But why is it the reverse here? So he said, no, it's just that, it's their choice. You decide. You want to send out them. It's okay. You're the boss. So I went to my team. And at a team meeting, I said, why do you think this is happening? Why are there only 2 girls? And I had the HR head also. I said, why is it happening? Because we're a strategic team. So we meet like the top billed clients come to me for strategy. So they pay us like an obscene amount of money every hour for me, for my brain. So why is it that it's only the boys in the team who come with me for client pitches? And I was gobsmacked by the answer that was given by the 2 girls who were there in my team, who are now heading PR agencies. And according to them, it was their time with me that changed their mindset. So one of them was a very short girl who was heavily pregnant at that time. And she said, I'm really embarrassed to front-end clients because I'm pregnant. I was like, what? Because you're pregnant. So then the other girl, who was a Malayali girl, whose English was very, very deeply accented, she said, people make fun of the way I speak. And there was another young intern who I had hired as soon as I joined, who was very good looking. She was a very, fair, gory chitty. And she said, ma'am, at the end of the day, if I do this, then they'll say, how can, you do strategy? Because they presume that because she was really, truly beautiful. Every woman is beautiful, but she really stood out. I mean, we used to tease her that why didn't you take films or something. And she said, see, even y'all do this stereotyping. Just because she was almost 5'10" and impeccably dressed with straight hair, beautiful. So she said that, everybody says that, like, she's going to do strategy. So the assumption is that, if it's a woman and she's very good looking and in perfect shape and just like fits all the boxes, how is she even thinking? How is she even intelligent? So the first change that I brought about, I said I want at least a 50-50 representation of men and women. Because when we are going to certain brands, which are, for instance, we did the iPill. You must have heard of the iPill, all of you. You're youngsters, and all of us should hear of the iPill. So when I'm going to the iPill client for a pitch, the iPill R&D team is all women because it's a birth control oral contraceptive for women. And I am taking a team which is only men. And I can see that iPill team kind of, like, look at me, Shri, no girls in your team. And I'm facing that embarrassment. I don't want this. So I made that girl who was heavily pregnant, because she was very good at strategy. When we would have our internal meetings, she was always the one who would, raise her little hand up and say, Shri, and she would, she was so sweet, like she would kind of huddle to the drawing board and give ideas. I said, I want her on my team. And I can't tell you the kind of resistance I faced, including, people in the organization say that, this is not journalism, corporate clients want certain kind of women. And I found that disgusting, absolutely disgusting. So I think what I learned in my career in PR is that it's a great career for women. It offers you the opportunity to do like a bit of event management, to do strategy. For me, I love strategy. I'm a very ideas person. And also you could write if you have a penchant for writing, storytelling. And today PR writing has also taken on different kinds of writing. There are digital teams within a client servicing team. So you will have a social media, like you will have a person who does video, who does your editing, also within your client servicing team, because the client will look for a social media strategy as well. They were not going to just now be happy with 2 coverages coming out in Times of India. They want to know how are you going to promote their Insta page. They want to reach out to influencers. They want to do their marketing through, soft launches of their products through influencers, right? So basically, PR, I think a lot of PR companies, like for me, the division that I started was called marketing communication. Because a lot of PR is also marketing. You're helping someone sell something at the end of the day. Like you said, it's business. You're helping somebody popularize a product. You're helping an audience take a decision that, okay, yes, I want to buy the iPill. Like, it's something that I trust when I'm in a situation where I need a contraceptive, right? So it's very, very important to understand that PR is a very, very dynamic profession. I think PR is a profession where I think, like, the way I have seen the girls in as I said, 2 of them today head PR agencies. They are CEOs of PR agencies. And today a lot more PR agencies have women at the top. So if you love writing, if you like strategy, if you're good at, ideation, if you love people, like you're saying, it has to be a client facing, but your media knowledge has to be very strong. So, like, if you're taking PR, you are going to bust your head against the stereotype that, probably they're just good looking, so they're in PR. That's a very common thing, especially if you do lifestyle PR, if you do consumer PR. Oh, they've hired a lot of women because, they're good looking. Clients want to see good looking women at meetings. I think PR offered me the opportunity to break that. And I think it's a great, great profession, but I would urge all of you to read. Because how can you give strategic counsel to your client if you're not consuming news? And is there any reason why you all don't read the papers? I find it very interesting for me to understand this. Why do you not, who doesn't read newspapers? Put up your hand. Why do you not read newspapers? Sorry? You're lazy. Okay, what are the other answers? Is everyone lazy? Whoever raised their hands, are they all lazy? Are you all a bunch of lazy people? No. So what are the reasons you don't read? So, a question which comes to my mind in terms of just common sense question, then why are you doing a journalism course? Like, so you want to be a digital marketeer kind of a thing. Okay, all right. So how many people actually want to be journalists? Let's break it down even more. One, two, just two of you. 1, 2, 3, 4, all the girls. Okay. So that's about 5 of you all. So the 5 of you all who like them are sure that, or maybe pretty much sure that you want to be a journalist. Do you not read the papers? You read? What about you? You read? What about you? So all the people who want to do journalists read the papers? Yeah, is that a yes? Yeah, is that a yes? Yeah, because that's a part of the job. You can't be a journalist if you're not reading. You can't also, according to me, be a PR person or, be anything if you're not reading. And I would say, I have started reading like papers online. I don't, like my mother, she likes to sit with the newspaper with her cup of Darjeeling tea, and for 1 hour she'll be, reading from page to page. I read it on my iPad. I've got the India Today, I've got Hindustan Times, I've got Times of India, I've got Anando Bajar Potrika, I've got the Telegraph because I now live in Calcutta, and I read. Also like a Scroll or a Vice or a Brute or whatever it is, right? So I would say expand your mind and inculcate the habit of reading and also the habit of asking questions, because when you read, what happens is you ask, your mind throws up questions. Why did this happen? Why did they say that? Don't dumb yourself down, because the professions that you all are getting into are getting more and more sharp, more and more competitive, more and more intellectually driven and high pressure. So as professions become competitive, skill-based, very, very particular to the industry, so you also have to up your knowledge. And as I always say that when it comes to, I'm sure you all are going to have people teaching you how to write press releases. I think keep in mind what I said, short but also importantly long, the headlines, the spellings, relevance, and also capturing the industry. So if it's a press release about, say, a particular kind of car that it's going to be launched, an electric car, Reva for instance, which is now most of the companies are doing the hybrid model, right? You can charge the car as well as drive it on fuel. So you will also have to know about the industry. You will also have to know about the environment. Why is your company, which has hired you as a PR agency, why is that company introducing a hybrid car? Because there's so much of pollution. There's, vehicular pollution. There's, so many deaths in Delhi every year with the winters, blah, blah, blah. What is the air quality? So unless you read the news, how will you form the foundation or the sponge for your press releases? You can't, right? So I think we've kind of done a long view of PR. Any questions, anything you'd want to clarify, anything you'd like to share? All of you are hungry, I think, for lunch. Yeah, okay. Anything that you'd like to share? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So travel PR is basically, if you're representing a travel company, I think you're confusing it with travel influencers or people. No, you're asking about travel PR. Okay. So travel PR is airline PR. Travel PR is, could be automobiles as well. could be companies which are travel, like airlines, for instance. It could also be hotels. The hospitality industry is also, in a sense, part of the whole travel PR plan. I think in an era of chat GPT, I think everything is scary. Because even an article you're reading, you don't know if a human being has actually conceptualized, thought, and written this, or it is just somebody who's dictated onto a chat GPT and, But I honestly feel that there is no replacement for human intelligence. I honestly feel that. And I feel that, chat GPT, yes, it can be an element of convenience, right? Like for instance, if you're making a PPT, even as students, you'll have to make PPTs, I'm sure. You'll see nowadays, PowerPoint on any, if you're buying Microsoft Word or anything, it'll come with certain set formulas. Ye PPT, wo PPT. So you just have to put the information and a PPT look like that. So to me, chat GPT can be that. It can be a structural mold. You have the mold, but it can't be the flesh. It can't be the fodder inside that it can't be. Yeah, sure.
So PR is all about the brand image and brand equity, media relations. So to build good media relations
Yeah.
before joining PR agency or PR organization, whatever. So do we have to spend some time, or do we have to join media industry first and then we'll get?
I think, one of the things when I interviewed people as a top boss of a PR agency was to understand your media knowledge. So for instance, if I was hiring you to service 5 automobile clients, I would ask you who are the top 5 automobile journalists in the country. Then I would ask you what are their top 3 stories, right? So if you're not reading the papers, you have no idea, right? So if I look at Times of India and I ask you all that who is covering environment for Times of India, because everything is about the pollution, and of late the city pages are filled with news of Delhi schools getting shut down, the chief minister saying that people need to work from home, the odd even may be started again, right? But if I ask you, like, as a client, when we went for pitches, they would actually interview the people in my team to understand how well they know the media. Yeah. So media knowledge first, because your relation will only happen once you join the organization. Till then you have no access to the journalist, right? But you have to know which journalist does what. So for instance, if it's a story on, for instance, the budget, you have to know who is the finance editor or the business editor of Times of India. Who is covering under that, who is covering taxation? Who is the journalist who covers mutual funds, right? Who is the journalist who is covering home loans? So if you don't know that, then how will you pitch the story? To whom will you pitch the story? With whom will you build the relationship? So even in any PR organization, media knowledge is very important, but your knowledge is also, it involves the resource also. That's also part of your media knowledge. Knowing who is the resource. Like today, okay, like Shrimoy, she is the entertainment and features editor of Times of India. You have to know that. And how will you know that if you never read my byline, if you never pick up a paper? How will you read? So, see, one of the reasons why today newspapers are also shutting down and we keep saying that people don't read anymore is because today we are watching reels. So today a Kush Kapila has become like your source of information on Bollywood is somebody like her. Or, you're looking at a photographer like Viral Modi on Instagram who does all the Bollywood... Viral Vianney, sorry, yeah, Viral Vianney, yeah. So, you're looking at him and he's become like a newspaper. Because, Deepika's going to this party, I'm getting it from Instagram. So this is a fight. Obviously, this is a fight of an industry which is fighting for relevance, which is fighting for readership, which is fighting for... See, when television came, when I was a journalist, TV came. And so many of my colleagues quit journalism and went to TV because it was big money. And it was great visibility, right? A journalist, today of course journalists are also have to do reel and Instagram and all that, but there were some journalists who we never saw. You know, they got the Ramnath Goenka award, or they got the national award for covering something, or they got the Times prize for, you know, say environmental reporting, but we never knew them. Maybe they wrote 2 books. Same for authors. We didn't know Enid Blyton when I was growing up. I didn't even know whether it's a man or a woman. But I loved Enid Blyton, you know, be it her Nancy Drews, or I'm sure you all didn't read all this either. But I'm just saying that, like, you have to know, you have to put a face behind it. So this is the thing, that if you don't read, if you don't consume the news, and therefore news also has to change. It has to also realize that its audience is now people who don't want to read. How do you get them back to reading? How do you design a newspaper so that it's easy to carry? How do you price a newspaper so that somebody says, yeah, okay, I'll spend 2 rupees? Because I have seen this being an author. Like at a book launch, people will come and say, where's my copy? Like even friends, you know, and how much is a book priced? Maybe at the most 2,000 bucks. Like a hardbound book might be 15.99 or 8.99. Or my, you know, I just released my 7th book. It's priced at 500 rupees. What is 500 bucks, yeah? I mean, you won't even get a meal at Starbucks for 2 people. But when it comes to books, when it comes to anything to do with literature or writing, people are very price thing. Because you can borrow a book. It's actually a luxury item, right? Like a newspaper. You don't have to read it. See, for our parents' generation, my parents' generation, unki din shuru hoti thi with the news. You'll see in movies also, they'll show that guy will come on the cycle. He'll either push the newspaper or he'll throw the newspaper. Days are changing, right? So you'll see every newspaper today has a robust online team, which is doing videos, which is doing podcasts. So these are ways of reaching different types of audience with different types of sensibilities. Yeah? So I hope I've answered your question. Thank you. Thank you for the question. Anything else? Okay. So I think we've... yes.
Ma'am, as we learned that we are also doing advertisement. So is PR going to shut down the advertisement companies?
No. Not at all. But advertisements are also going online a lot, you know. Advertisements are also like the marketing budget of organizations. The advertising budget is today going towards advertising on Facebook ads, right? Instagram has now, everything is becoming paid on Instagram. You'll see, right, those sponsored posts. So that's the online form of advertising is becoming, earlier what was advertising? It was only hoardings. Then it became print ads, right? Then it became TV ads, commercials, like we call them, right? Or what we see before a movie, those are commercials. Now it has become online ads. So Facebook, you'll see, even LinkedIn has ads. You can buy those ads, you know, you can buy ad space. So all these social media platforms have the capacity for advertisements which are paid. So I don't think you can ever, you know, get rid of advertising. How are you going to then reach your audience? एडवर्टीजमेंट का काम पीआर नहीं करता है. Advertising agencies are separate from a PR agency. An advertising agency will do your creative. So an advertising agency is, I'm sure you're going to study it, and I'm not an advertising professional, but because I've dealt with advertising agencies, advertising is divided into copy and video. So you'll have a copywriting team who write, and there's a video who shoot, and there's a marketing team who sell that to the client. So similarly, the PR person will come, PR person ko corporate communication ne bola, then they come to the advertising agency and say, hey, this is a brief, this is how we want you to communicate. And then the creative team, the copy and the video or the photo team have to get together and shoot it for you or write it for you. Be it a radio ad, it's a jingle, or it's a print ad, then it's a photo and a write-up or a, you know, kind of a catchy headline. Yeah. Thank you. Anything else? So I think we've had a nice, invigorating session. I hope I've been able to touch on, you know, the topics. Of course, you all will study it in greater depth and detail, but I hope, and my earnest request to you is read more, because I think this whole, dumbing down when we think we're being smart and cool. Actually, what happens is when you read, you also open yourself up to exposing yourself to different kinds of people, thoughts, ideas, and there's no substitute for that. And, I myself am guilty. I was telling somebody that the other day I had to review a film. And somebody said, watch this reel, because I run a community for single women, so the reel was pertinent. The moment I started watching one reel, it kept on throwing me reels that I want to see. So it's like, it's mapping, like a mind mapping. I stopped watching the movie. For 3 days, I'm only watching reels. Like whenever I'm getting time, I say, let me see. So ultimately, what's happening? It's bringing my intelligence down to the lowest common denominator, and it's also somebody's controlling my mind. I don't know if you all have seen this. It was a documentary on Netflix, if I'm not mistaken, called Social Network. Social Dilemma. Yeah, you must watch it. It actually shows you how Facebook is making money, A, but how, like, when we tell people, right, that too much of exposure to social media is also bad. Like, for instance, my sister, she's 14, and in her class, she's the youngest in her class. I was shocked, there's a girl who's in class 6. They come by the same bus, and they all know me being a public face. So, this girl came to me and said, Didi, I can make a really nice reel for you. I was like, what did you say? You're on Instagram. And she's 12. She's in class 6. And actually, Instagram gives a age specification, but obviously people lie and fabricate and, So at the end of the day, when we tell people that too much social media exposure actually causes you depression, it causes anxiety, social anxiety, right? It comes from public spaces, but also from constantly seeing, people are having party, enjoying, getting married, having a lover, being slim, everything is perfect. It's like so I would say, keep your minds open to different sorts of literature, journalism, hear different people, talk to people, keep your phones aside. So so I'm a Buddhist, and my Lama ji, who's no more, used to say that the core of mindfulness has to be concentration and silence. So every day before I go to sleep, I switch off my phone at a certain time, unless I'm traveling because I have old parents and my sister. But I keep my phone switched off at night. And the first thing in the morning, I don't look at my phone. I was doing that because I read the news on the phone. I was like, okay, kya hua, but I don't do that. And I found that some days when I can borrow the paper from my mother, because she's very possessive about her, Telegraph and her Anando Bajar, actually reading a paper is very calming. It's much less calming than seeing something on the phone, because there are no ads. There's no compulsion to put a heart or like or repost or share or comment. It's just focus. So try doing that. Okay? Good luck to all of you, and thank you for your time.